A very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's my great honor to welcome you all to the National Insurance Academy's annual event, Tatva HR Summit 2024. As we gather today, we are on the cusp of a transformative period in the field of human resources. HR has always been a dynamic function constantly evolving to meet the needs of businesses and the workforce. However, the pace of this evolution has accelerated dramatically in recent years. Technological advancements such as artificial intelligence, machine learning, and advanced analytics are not just tools but have become essential drivers of this change, shaping what we now recognize as Industry 4.0.
In wake of this, the theme for this year's summit, HR 3.0 to 4.0, realigning the talent ecosystem, speaks directly to the changes and challenges that lie ahead. The shift from HR 3.0 to HR 4.0 represents more than just an update in tools and technologies. It signifies a deep transformation in the way we think about and engage with talent. It's about realigning the talent ecosystem to create a workforce that is not only agile and adaptive, but also prepared to thrive in this new digital era.
Thus, ladies and gentlemen, today's summit provides a unique opportunity to bring together HR professionals, B schools, and the next generation of the workforce to explore and identify strategies that will help us navigate this transition. Our distinguished lineup of speakers and experts will provide valuable insights and perspectives, guiding us as we seek to understand and embrace the future of human resources.
So, without further ado, I request dignitaries to kindly come forward and form the dais. Mr. Ranjit Gangadharan, Joint In Charge Director and Chair Professor, Non-Life. Mr. V. Balagopal, Joint In Charge Director and Chair Professor, Life. Dr. Sanjay Mali, Principal PGDN. Dr. Archana Singh and Dr. Ruchika Yadav, faculty members at NIA and HR Summit coordinators.
Thank you so much. It is auspicious to begin any intellectual journey with lighting of lamp. I request the dignitaries on the dais to kindly come forward for the lamp lighting ceremony. I also request Ms. Jayashree Sridhar and my colleagues Gunjit Verma and Yashi Vyas to accompany the respected dignitaries in lighting the lamp.
Thank you so much. As we begin the event on a soulful note, I call upon stage Shivani, PGDM student at NIA for the invocation song.
वक्रतुण्डे महाकाये सूर्यकोटि समप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देवा सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा शुभं करोति कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदा शुभं करोति कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदा शुभं करोति कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनुसम्पदा शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योति नमस्तुते दीपज्योति नमस्तुते शुभं करोति कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनुसम्पदा आरोग्यं धनुसम्पदा Thank you.
Thank you, Shivani. Taking the ceremony forward, I request Mr. V. Balgopal, Joint in Charge Director and Chair Professor Life at NIA, to kindly come forward and present the welcome address.
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, esteemed speakers, panelists, moderators, my NA colleagues, and dear students, a very good morning to all of you. It is with great pleasure that I welcome all of you to this year's HR Summit Tatva 2024, where we have gathered to explore one of the most critical and timely topics in the HR field, realigning the talent ecosystem. My special welcome to the keynote speaker, Professor Manjari Singh from IIM Ahmedabad, who will be joining online, I'm told, for this keynote session or the plenary session. In today's rapidly changing world, the challenges we face in managing talent are more complex than ever before. From the rise of remote work to the increasing importance of diversity and inclusion, the landscape is evolving at a pace that demands not just adaptation, but innovation. This summit will be providing us with the perfect platform to discuss, debate, and design the future of talent management. Our agenda today is packed with several interesting panel discussions and paper presentations led by HR experts and eminent persons from the insurance industry who will share their experiences, strategies, and visions for the future. Whether it is understanding the important impact of technology on workforce dynamics, exploring new approaches to talent acquisition, or discussing the importance of creating a culture that fosters growth and resilience, our goal is to equip all of you, especially the young PGDM students of NIA, with the knowledge and tools that are needed to align your talent strategies with the demands of the future. I encourage each one of you to share your thoughts, and especially the PGDM students to ask questions and to network with the stalwarts from the HR field who have gathered here today. The conversations that we start here today, I hope, will continue to shape the way how we think about talent and the ecosystems that we need to build to support it. As we embark on this journey of discovery and learning, I wish to thank each one of the speakers who made it possible to be here today, despite your busy schedules. Your discussions today will be strengthening the talent and potential of our students immensely. I request all the students to make the best of this opportunity to learn and grow as they step into the corporate world in the coming days. I once again welcome each and every one of you for this HR Summit Tatva 2024. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for the warm welcome. I now request Mr. Ranjit Gangadharan, Joint in Charge Director and Chair Professor Non-Life at NIA, to kindly come forward and present the introductory address.
A very good morning to all of you, ladies and gentlemen. It is with great pleasure that I welcome each one of you to the National Insurance Academy, Pune, and to the Academy's annual event, Tatva HR Summit 2024. Today, we have gathered to explore the transformative journey from HR3 to HR4 through this summit. Tatva was conceptualized in the year 2006, and since then, it has been a rewarding and edifying journey for the Academy. This event is an effective platform not only for exchange of ideas, views, and suggestions, but also for networking and discussions on current and future trends that constitute the world of work. As we navigate the complexities of the Industry 4, HR's role has evolved significantly. With that in mind, this year's summit has been conceptualized around the theme HR3 to HR4 realigning the talent ecosystem. And we promise you stimulating discussions and presentations which will provide valuable insights and new perspectives for realigning the talent ecosystem and preparing the workforce for the future. Spread over the entire day, we have keynote address by Dr. Manjari Singh, Professor HRM at IIM Ahmedabad, which will be followed by 3 panel discussions and a presentation round. Our esteemed speakers, which comprise of CHROs, HR heads, industry experts, academic scholars, and our alumni, will share insights on the HR perspective for a disruptive world, forging the leaders of tomorrow and redefining the employee experience. So as we begin this journey, I invite you to delve into the discussions. Let's co-create the future of HR and redefine the talent ecosystem. And I'm sure the students of PGTM, both the first year and the second year, will take full advantage of all the discussions which happen here today. Once again, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your heartfelt address. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now my honor to introduce you to our esteemed keynote speaker, Dr. Manjari Singh, Professor HRM at IIM Ahmedabad, who has joined us virtually today. With doctorate in HR from IIM Calcutta and a background in electrical engineering, Professor Singh has authored over 40 papers in top peer-reviewed journals and has presented at numerous prestigious conferences. Her research focuses on strategic HR management, HR analytics, and gender inclusivity. Dr. Singh's consultancy work spans both government and private sectors, including significant contributions to the 7th and 6th Central Pay Commissions and the 2nd National Judicial Pay Commission, and she even holds an independent directorship at SUD Life Insurance.
With this brief introduction, we hand over the stage to Dr. Manjari Singh. Kindly keep your intriguing questions ready, as Professor Singh may take a couple of questions from the audience.
Good morning, dear faculty members and students. Am I audible? I'd just like to, hello? Yeah, okay, great, thank you. Okay, so thank you for giving me this opportunity to look at what will be the HR's role when we are looking at Industry 3, our move from Industry 3.0 to Industry 4.0, and eventually we'll be looking at our move to Industry 5.0. So this entire aspect of going through this industrialization from 1.0 to 5.0 was a very interesting perspective that I felt when I looked at the brochure for this conference. So we moved from mechanization to assembly lines to computerization to digitalization, and then we have moved now to human-centric collaboration. Okay. So what I would like to give the title for today's keynote address is Sustainable Talent for Industry 5.0. So journey up to 5.0, covering 3.0, 4.0, 5.0. Okay. Starting with Industry 5.0, why there was this immediate shift from 4.0 to 5.0, because we brought in human creativity and human skills back in the picture, and which is very, very important for the HR people who are present here, to for them to see that where Ford more than 100 years back said Why is it when I hire a pair of hands, I get a human being as well? To today, when we have again recognized the importance of human AI or human technology collaboration. The other aspect which I found very, very interesting is the challenges now that the entry of next gen would be, uh, the organizations will be facing with the entry of next gen. So these generation differences are throwing a very interesting light on how human resource management has to be handled in various organizations. That is also a very, very important aspect. So I can see a few panel discussions which are sort of centered around that. All this has to be seen in the backdrop of our 2030 agenda for sustainable development that evolved in 2050. So the 17 SDG goals that are there. So what is the future of work, decent work, how to bring in. These SDG goals are particularly important for the sector that NIA is in, insurance sector. In insurance sector itself will play an important role in ensuring this SDG goals. Insurance sector is undergoing some very, very interesting changes in the recent past that I'm sure would be discussed in more detail otherwise. Okay. So coming to the topic again, industry 5.0, why I'm focusing more on that is that because it has three cornerstones. It is integrating industrial value creation with sustainability, that is the first cornerstone, with resilience, which is the second cornerstone, and with human centricity, which is the third cornerstone. And some very interesting academic work has also been done in this, that how these three cornerstone needs to be incorporated in creating the industrial value chain. Sustainable talent again has, as I'm looking at it for this keynote address, has three key cornerstone, and which is basically evolving from what I was looking at in your brochure also. So the first cornerstone is about the expertise, basically what we were talking about: capacity building, capability building, reskilling, upskilling, retooling. Okay. So first thing is, if sustainable talent has to be built, and in this age when digitalization is happening, how to make that talent relevant for the organization, and how to ensure that they are committed to the organization, they are doing their work properly. So the other two key cornerstones we are looking at one is engagement, and the third one is their effectiveness. Okay. So the three E's we are looking at for sustainable talent here are expertise, engagement, and effectiveness. These are basically the outcomes that would be desired. Now, how these outcomes have to be achieved, organization will play an important role. And of course, HR will play a very, very significant role in this. It will play a significant role in terms of building the appropriate culture, building the appropriate work process, helping with the appropriate work processes, and also facilitating all these things through proper HRM systems that would be there in the organizations. The key one being the recruitment and selection, training and development, a performance management system, and not to forget career and succession planning systems. So in this backdrop, I would like to look at some of the challenges and paradoxes that organization is facing, where HR is expected to play a key role. Now, when I'm talking about paradox, I'm talking about basically the trade-offs, because that's the way it's being used in management literature, that the trade-offs that the organization faces in various things. Okay, it's not the literal meaning of paradox, but it's more, the focus is more on the trade-off. So first aspect when we are talking about AI is this deployment effect versus the disclosure effect. Deployment effect is a positive outcome, whereas disclosure effect is seen in a more with a more negative connotation. So the work that Tong et al. Had done in 2021 was more focused on performance feedback, but this can be seen. It has a much wider applicability. So what is basically deployment effect? Deployment effect, we are looking at more and more data you are using with better analytical framework to ensure that better decision making is happening. That is the positive aspect. Now, what is also happening simultaneously is there is distrust of the technology, distrust of AI, and also the fear that I may get replaced. So this is when the disclosure is made that AI is playing an important role in some aspect, then these negative aspects also come. Whether I can trust the whatever data is getting generated by AI, whether in some ways it is not going to be it's not going to be aligned with my interest in the future. So those aspects are also coming. So that is why we are saying that we are looking at positive deployment effect versus negative disclosure effect. Now, what is happening in order to strengthen the deployment effect? One is expected to bring in more and more relevant data with more and more sophisticated analytical framework. Many times what is happening is with this more sophisticated analytical framework, people may not be able to understand what is actually how this analysis is happening, why this analysis is happening, what is the rationale behind it. So that becomes a black box, and that may generate more of the distrust. So in the literature, if you see, then interesting concept that has evolved is explainable AI, XAI it's called in short. So what is the role of XAI in HRM? Some very interesting work has been done in that respect also. Explainable AI is basically looking how to reduce this black box or that whatever that lack of transparency is there in analytical framework in the AI to something which is more understandable to the users of these processes. Now, the next aspect that we are coming to is in terms of challenges and paradoxes is competition versus collaboration. Okay. So the other, in terms of AI, first I'll cover is the work that is evolving is augmented AI. So how use of AI can enhance human cognitive ability, it can improve decision-making processes and productivity. So what one is looking at here is human AI collaboration to help in this. And this is very much affected by the work design that would be evolving to ensure that this collaboration is successful. So why collaboration versus competition? Because there is an element of competition there. There's this fear of being replaced by AI, or somewhere the significant work getting reduced because of AI. That aspect is bringing in the competition. Now, this competition, what we are looking at is more from the technology point of view. Now, HR also has this big challenge of ensuring a balance between competition and collaboration among employees. So how HR processes can evolve that this balance can be maintained, because very easily the tilt can be in one direction or the other, and this tilt may generally not be very conducive for the sustainability of the organization. So this, how the entry of next gen their profile is also affecting this culture. I'm sure that would also come in the discussions later on, because this will be an interesting aspect to look at the generation differences that are there. Then the psychological contract has had long changed from relational to transactional. But as more and more it is becoming transactional, as more and more the feeling is that the next gen which is coming would be looking at more as of a transactional contract rather than relational contract. More and more organizations are facing the problem of retaining their talent. How to develop their talent if they are not able to retain the talent in future? So those things would again are making it important for the organizations that they again bring some balance in terms of relational contract. Processes, the third aspect I would like to focus on is processes and culture, whether they are more strategic oriented or they are employee centric. So this is basically Ulrich's 4 roles for HR department when we were looking at whether they are strategic partner or whether they are employee champion. There's an inherent conflict there. There may be some aspect of decision making which may favor one aspect over other. And many times since the processes are very top down, the strategic aspect may dominate over employee centricity. But without this balance, a lot of things may get negatively affected, including the psychological contract may become more and more transactional. Next aspect I would like to cover would be regarding the strategic orientation of exploitation versus exploration. So here, before getting into it, I would like to look at the interesting aspects that are brought in by the regulatory changes that are happening in the insurance sector. So what the regulator is looking at is moving more away from the traditional rule-based regulatory framework to the more principle-based regulatory architecture. Since this is happening, the key points that they are trying to safeguard, one is policyholders' interest. Second, they are trying to facilitate ease of doing business. They are trying to ensure that rural and social responsibilities are taken much more seriously. In fact, there is this thing that by the time we are independent for 100 years old, the entire country should get insured. Then from the technology and product point of view, they are looking at a lot of innovation in terms of product being made more customized, made innovative, made more competitive, and also the insurance e-market that they are looking at. In order to do all this, they are also trying to strengthen the governance framework, bringing in a lot of aspect about the appointments at board level, and also KMP's role in KMP's KRA, KPIs, etc., under a more strengthened governance framework. So this has, for a lot of organizations now in the insurance sector, this is creating a lot of interesting challenges. So coming to the strategic orientation of exploitation versus exploration, to what extent one can be innovative and customize the product, to what extent one can gain advantage of what they had done in the past. So exploitation is trying to gain advantage of what one has done in the past, whereas exploration, one is looking at more and more innovative. Again, there has to be balance because there's a risk involved in venturing to a new thing, which should be somewhere balanced with what has been the history, what has been the success. Now with Gen Z coming in, the next gen coming in, the career aspect with the HRM is dealing with, and with all the technology changes which is coming in, digitalization is happening in a major way, particularly since we are talking about the insurance sector, and when we are talking about insurance e-market, we are talking about e-verifications, etc., is looking at plateaued versus trainable workforce. Who can be developed for the future? Who has plateaued? If they have plateaued, then what is their future in the organization, and what will be the organizations linked with them? For competencies, one has to go further. When we are talking about augmented AI, are we looking at what type of expertise we are looking at when we are talking about augmented AI? So again, the role of, to what extent generalists would be important, to what extent specialists would be important. So that trade-off now has to be very clearly established. A lot of companies now are very clear about which role, what competencies would be needed, and in what way to develop those competencies. Particularly since talent for leadership positions there seems to be a gap there, which needs to be developed further, and the entire sector is facing that issue that there should be proper focus on developing the talent in-house, or how to properly utilize the external talent. Lastly, I would like to talk about the employee empowerment versus Stepford employee. Do we want employees who can just fit in and will never be raising their voice against uh, any decisions being taken from higher up, since we are, as discussed earlier, we are looking at more top-down systems? Or we, for this fostering innovation, bringing in human skills, when we are looking at Industry 5.0, we need to, for employees to think differently, think out of the box, think in depth, and to do that, one needs to look at more empowered employees and not just Stepford employees. With this, I would like to stop with the address and would like to invite the questions if you have any.
Hello,
Yeah.
any questions?
Hello, ma'am. So, what are the
Hello.
potential risk and ethical consideration for HR while integrating AI technologies, and how these can be managed in an organization?
Okay. So can you, in the other screen, can you keep others rather than me? I can see myself in my screen itself. I would like to see others. Okay. So you have very rightly pointed out a very important aspect. Why I didn't get into this aspect, because I am expecting the panel discussions, etc., to cover a lot of these aspects about privacy issues of the employee development issues that are there in terms of this applications of AI in HRM, applications of AI in work processes. So that is where these risks are involved. And I thought that this would be covered in more detail in the panel discussions that would be happening. So ethical issues are there. Then the problem is that training data set may be built too much on the majority workforce, and hence DEI initiatives may also get into problems, particularly in the selection systems, etc. So those aspects have also been brought to light. in various performance management monitoring tools, many times privacy issues may get organization may just not uh, appreciate employees' privacy issues, that aspect, and there are many more. I am sure those discussions would be happening, and what role HR will be playing in dealing with this, those aspects also will be dealt with. Or do you want me to, any of these aspects, you want me to get into more detail?
Yes, ma'am, if you can.
Which one?
Ma'am, any, whatever you like in for ethical practices, how they can manage for employees and managers, how they can manage it.
So you are talking from AI perspective only, or you're talking
Yes,
in
ma'am,
general?
how AI involved in it, like how it's been done, like how AI involvement gets more confusion between people.
Okay. So AI involvement, if not handled properly, this collaboration becomes a big risk, because employees, what we were discussing earlier, this deployment effect versus the disclosure effect. So employees are not, employees do not have the trust in whatever AI is doing, and hence employees slowly would lose interest in their job, because they just don't understand what is their role in the overall thing, where they are actually contributing in the intellectual sense, or are they just been doing some very routine work, repetitive work. So in that sense, HR needs to bring in again very clearly that that is where I was earlier also discussing explainable AI. So explainable AI in HRM, if you are going to look at that literature, it deals with this, that do users understand in what way AI is getting implemented in their organization? It's in what way they can utilize the AI better, rather than seeing it as a problem in with them. Now AI HRM processes always, when we shifted to algorithmic HRM, always there has been a distrust that culture of the organization and certain customized processes in the organization, which are important for motivating the employees, are not getting properly incorporated in these systems. So how, when AI is getting incorporated in the system, the explainable AI, so HR, HR practitioners, and if those who are students in HR, in tomorrow you will be holding these positions. So one has to look at and understand the role of AI clearly, and not just go by the fad, not just go by what other organizations are doing, in where it is going to make a difference, how selection is, whether the selection is actually improving or not, or whether you are leaving too much to the to something which is not really doing an in-depth thinking or analysis which a human can do, and taking decisions which may not be in the long-term good. That's why we were talking about this training data sets, biasing the selection procedure in the organizations and things like that.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Do we have any more questions?
Good morning, madam. I'm Sumesh
morning.
Shet, a faculty member. It will be very useful if you tell the students how they can prepare. A major change is going to take place now. So they have got around 2 years, 1 year here. So how well they can prepare themselves for this change? Because they've got a whole career ahead of us. It is a disruptive technology. Yeah, it will be helpful to them.
Okay. So, and I will be speaking more from the point of view of HR students.
They are primarily into insurance, and they'll go to different segments of insurance.
Okay,
So,
okay,
yeah,
okay, okay.
at a personal level, what they should do.
Okay, so so some of the things which they might have heard repeatedly, I'll repeat that you need to be not easily replaceable in the organization. So look at developing competencies, etc. It may be technology oriented. It may not always be technology oriented, but the way we are moving forward, being technology oriented has become very, very important. So not understanding technology may no longer be an option for many of you, particularly in the insurance sector. CRM is now playing a big role. Verification, etc., is being done through basically verification, etc., is being done. Now, if you have to handle that Salesforce, you also have to have a good understanding of those technology, etc. So work processes, etc., whatever technology is there, in your own work design, whatever technology is there. So all those basically work design, mean in your own job description, whatever technology needs to be incorporated. So that aspect has to be, you need to somewhere spend extra time. Now there are a lot of MOOCs, etc., are also available. So wherever for each is responsible for their own career. So try to understand where your own gap is. Many of the things would get filled by whatever courses you are doing in the academy, but academy is catering to the students in general. You need to look at your own personal aspects. So what type of career you are looking at in future? How so one question which used to be repeatedly asked in interviews earlier, now it has become a very cliche question in interviews, is where do you think you will be 5 years from now? It may appear a cliche question, but really one has to develop oneself step by step, and in that sense that's a very, very important question for you to ask yourself. So where do you want to be 5 years from now? In that, to reach that position, what all you need to do. Now, the other aspect is whether how long you want to be in the same organization, whether it's good to move quickly from organization to organization, because you can gain more exposure, you can understand market better, see various processes. But then again, the caveat is that too much hopping may, particularly when they are looking at later on at senior role, etc., too much hopping may prejudice in some ways to the selection panel against you. So one has to be very careful about that. So one has to be very careful for when you are moved in terms of mobility, also from organization to organization, how you are moving. So first aspect is competencies. Focus on what competencies you need to develop. Second aspect is the organizational processes and culture, what type of exposure you need. So what type of organizations you need to be there. Another aspect is to what extent you want to look at the brand name of the organization. In some places it matters a lot, in other places it doesn't matter, as long as you are learning good things, learning things which are needed for your future. So organizational culture. Now, some organizations, why brand name sometimes matter is some of these organizations are very supportive, particularly in the initial phase of your career, to develop you. And in the initial phase of your career, that may play an important role as to what extent you are getting a support to develop yourself from the organization in various ways. Okay, so that aspect also one has to look at. I think unless I'm missing something, if someone wants to point out something I have missed, I think this is what I would like to say.
Ma'am, I think you have covered it all pretty much. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your thought-provoking address.
I have a question. So, good morning, ma'am. I'm Archana Singh. I work as a faculty here. So, you mentioned about plateaued versus developmental talent. So, I can imagine what will happen to development talent. They will move ahead and acquire key positions. Now, I'm curious to understand what will happen to plateaued employees, how organizations are going to handle that. are organizations interested in doing something about them, or they have they have to take that responsibility of moving ahead, or if they are not able to manage that, then what will happen to them?
Okay, so earlier there were three players involved in this, and the third player, which has now almost moved out of its responsibility, which is the state or the government. State, I meant not the state government, I meant the governing this thing. So now the responsibility lies primarily in within employer and employee. Now, the person who has to now future-proof their career is the employee, because employer is also going to look at their financial statement and are going to be very wary of to what extent they are going to support who are the plateaued workers. So it depends a lot on the value system of the organization. Some organizations have the value system where they support, but where they are not supporting, we are creating a very vulnerable group with increasing longevity, etc. A very vulnerable group is getting created. Now the interesting part would be how your sector will be able to support that in future, because insurance sector is going to play a key role in the absence of very strong social security net in India. I don't have a very good answer to this, unfortunately. As the things evolve, I hope we will be more humane in our approach and find solutions for them.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
After an engaging session,
So, okay, thank you very much. And thank you for inviting me here. I would have loved to be there, but unfortunately, that couldn't be managed. Otherwise, it appears to be a very, very interesting day for all of you. So, all the best, and I'll be signing off.
thank you so much, ma'am. We are even grateful for your digital presence.
Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we come towards the end of this inaugural session, I request Dr. Sanjay Mali, Principal, PGDM at NIA, to kindly come forward and present the vote of thanks.
A very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of National Insurance Academy, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to each one of you for making this inaugural address, inaugural session of our annual event, Tatva HR Summit 2024, a resounding success. I am deeply grateful to the esteemed keynote speaker, Dr. Manjari Singh, Professor HRM, IIM Ahmedabad, for making the inaugural for invaluable insights and expertise and also in setting the tone for this our HR Summit. My sincere appreciation goes to the Joint Director in charge, Chair Professor Ranjit Gangadharan, Chair Professor Bal Gopal, for their address and their constant support for organizing this summit. Mr. Satya Kumar, our Chair Professor, Jayasri Ma'am, Administrative Officer, and her entire team for helping us throughout. I must acknowledge and sincerely thank Dr. Sushma Chaudhary, the faculty member and head of HR and OB, who has been the guiding force behind the summit. Event coordinators Dr. Archana Singh and Dr. Ruchika Yadav, along with the student coordinators, volunteers, and the entire students team for their tireless effort and dedication in connecting the dots and bringing all this together. My special thanks to all distinguished speakers who agreed to contribute to the deliberations during the summit. Many thanks to the invited delegates, our alumni, our colleagues, my colleagues from academy and the PGDM students for being a part of the summit at the inaugural address by your presence. We conclude this inaugural program We look forward to the exciting discussion, networking opportunities, and learning experiences that await us in the session to come. Thank you once again for your presence, and I wish you a fruitful, enriching experience during Tatva HR Summit 2024. Thank you.